Welcome to a pirate utopia. This is Republic of Pirates, and in today's video, a tips and tricks style beginner's guide, I'm going to teach you how to play, the fundamentals to get started in Republic of Pirates. I've divided it up into sections down below with time cards, and just before we start, some exciting news. You could actually get a copy of the game for free, courtesy of the developers. I've got 5 keys to give away. Just leave a comment down below, and my thanks to them for sponsoring this video. I would highly encourage you to click through my link and check out Republic of Pirates. Now let's roll, and we're going to start in the beginning. Let's keep it simple. As you set up a game, I'll be playing in the Freeplay mode for this video. Keep an eye on the map, its size, and the production conditions. Don't worry, we'll break this stuff down. The key thing perhaps to be aware of is the difficulty slider. Easy will make things, naturally, a little bit kinder to you as you begin. And the beginning itself will look a little something like this, with your real-time strategy, speed controls up in the top right-hand corner of your screen. You'll start with but a humble pirate dock, and from there, we should crack into the basics. In the beginning, you'll need to build infrastructure and house some people. Everything that you build in the game needs to be connected to a dirt road. This includes the starting infrastructure of the dock. Next, it'll be housing, beginning with huts. These will house laborers, one of the 4 different types of workers that we'll eventually employ. And of course, we're going to need to get constructing, so I'd highly encourage you to start with the Woodcutter's Lodge. Seems like a great place to start. Keep an eye as you're placing things down, not just this lodge, but many other buildings for its efficiency. Building it too close to other things, for example, in this case, is not a great idea for cutting down trees. You can also adjust the priority of a building and the maximum number of people working on it. A lot of the time you may not need to mess with this, but sometimes priority is key. Likewise, you can upgrade its storage in the future too. In order to do that though, you'll actually need to process the logs that you're cutting down, and that's exactly what you can see happening here on your screen right now, the 2 necessary buildings within range of one another. In order to keep the logistics flowing, we'll also need some other basic buildings, the main one in fact being the depot. This is key. Take note of the green range as I move the building around. It's really important that you ensure you have a depot within range of basically all of your economic activity. If you need to do some quick city building on the fly to make room for it, by the way, you can hit Q and open up a nice rapid action wheel. Now we've laid the foundation, let's talk economic development, buildings, populations, needs, and more. And while you may choose to develop based on the conditions, what does your island do best? You might also need to expand in future. And in order to do that, you'll first need to grow. And one of the best ways to focus in on that is through the main quest. It will focus you to grow a certain type of worker and progress through the game, gradually building up your population and unlocking more things to build and do. Upgrading your huts will be a key way to do that. And as you can see, there are certain needs that must be met, supplies that must be provided. These will make us a bit of money and, crucially, attract the population. Now, the marketplace is one of the key basic providers. Alongside fish and rope, your people really they crave access to a marketplace. So ensure that you have one or as many as you need placed by. Once I've completed the quest, indeed developed further, I've unlocked, in this case, access to the fishing wharf. Another vital thing I'll need to do to upgrade my initial huts and eventually attract, of course, some more skilled labor into my little settlements. My little settlement, though, as you can see, is not the only one in this highly dynamic world filled with many factions. There are lots of resources to uncover, and one island simply won't have them all, and we'll talk about expansion later, but first, a couple of other things about development. You're gonna need a lot of stuff, and a lot of dudes. The more workplaces you build, here I'm making hemp, and building a rope maker, so that ultimately I can provide the rope that people need. And as you can see, it's put a lot of stress on the number of laborers I require, so more huts are needed. And obviously this creates a spiraling effect where you're going to need more food, more materials for construction, more needs and wants of your people, including some slightly more nefarious things. But nonetheless, as it all comes together and you start to upgrade from huts, attracting more skilled labor, you're going to then shift your focus. Your focus will become a little bit more worldly, less on the individual island, the cove, the settlement, wherever you are, and instead it'll become more of a reach for resources, which you can always track, by the way, in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Equally trying to track the number of laborers required as you upgrade them from one type of worker to another. Of course, as I've already alluded to, you're going to need to fill the blanks. Moreover, if you want to keep developing, you're going to need to expand. As you can see, the demands, the needs and wants of people increase quite significantly as you move through. Now I have smiths available, and their needs and wants are much higher than the previous classes. So, what do? Well, we can zoom out and take a look at the tactical map for a live view of all of the different islands, which faction owns them, and of course, enemy fleets, ships moving around the map in real time. Expanding out to new islands will allow new resource chains and buildings to be developed, harvested. Here, for example, iron mines, building a part of this broader resource chain, which will ultimately allow me to build cannons for better ships. Speaking of ships, of course, all of this city building, all of these settlements are surrounded by water, and that water is full of pirates. Let's talk pirates and ships, the name of the game. To begin with, of course, you'll start with not a humble fleet. Each of your ships will have a pirate captain, a special ship action as well, in this case the scatter shot, a damaging one, but there are support actions and others too. More skilled and experienced pirates captains will level up, and ultimately the class of the ship and its stats will determine how much damage it can do, so on and so forth. In the beginning, you're perhaps more of an explorer, looking for plunder and loot, just sitting there in the ocean. This is an easy grab early on, and as you move through for some free resources. Zooming out into the tactical map, you can see again all of the islands, hovering over them to see their resources and their production conditions. Is this a good place to produce coal? Does it even have coal? What about zinc? All of these questions and all of the resources you need, clay, crabs, etc., can be found on the different islands across the map. However, as you can see very clearly, there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of potential enemy activity. So, to build a fleet and construct one, firstly you'll need to build a shipyard. Once you enter that, you can start actually building some ships. Firstly, selecting its class, taking note of its statistics, its resource requirements, special action, and customization. But also, these ships will need a captain. Where are my pirates at? Well, that's another fundamental thing you'll need to tick off. The Captain's Inn can be placed down on Captain's Inn wreckage in specific locations on your island. Once it's built, it's time to recruit. Let's get some pirates in here so that we can add them to our ships. For we can't construct a new ship if we don't have somebody to captain it. You can hire them, of course, paying cash money, and then level them up through experience, through fighting, literally getting out there in their boat, and you can see their level up perks here on the screen. So you might want to pick someone who's already a little bit leveled up, or has the kind of skills that you need for the ships that you're building. Don't forget to also build some defensive buildings in and around the place, for when we expand, we run into other factions, other pirates, and potentially trouble as we cross the trade routes or look for new islands to take over. Let's move through then, kick it up a gear, and start to talk about what to do with our ships. Combat and expansion. Sailing up to a new island, or indeed an inhabited one, will inevitably lead to combat. You'll need to clear out all traces of whoever is currently inhabiting the island in order to take it over for yourself. Ship combat obviously happens in real time, using your ship actions, aggressive, defensive, supportive, to try and protect, safeguard, and ultimately keep your ships alive. These are expensive, and you want to be really careful. I lost ships many times because the damage coming in was simply too high, or I'd inadvertently entered a fight with my game speed ticking along just slightly too quickly. Take note of the health bars. Navigate your ships both individually and collectively by selecting all of them at once for quick navigation. Taking out all of the enemy buildings will be fairly easy once their ships are down, unless they have some defensive turrets, and once you've done that, it's time to claim the island. You'll get a nice little view of what you've captured, the rare materials that are available and necessary, as well as the production conditions. What is this island good at producing, and what won't it be so efficient at doing? Now you can start to specialize. This island's good at fish, so I'll do all of my fish production here. In terms of the specifics, you'll need to make sure that you actually have a population living here though. You still need to build houses, huts, whatever they may be, and ensure you build your dock, for the dock is what connects resources between our islands and across our growing pirate empire. So remember, as you expand, resources will be shared so long as you've got the docks, but people won't move islands. Speaking of people, let's talk diplomacy and trade in the final section of this video. As you take over something, you'll begin to unlock diplomacy and start to interface with the other factions in the game a little more closely, perhaps as a friend or a foe. You can jump into the diplomacy screen here to take a look at each faction, the standing and the effect that that will have on you, as well as engage in things like trade, for example. Here you can see me interacting with a trade offer. The options here will stretch out and expand. It's not just trade, but as you befriend somebody, you might be able to request assistance from their fleet, for example, pulling in their ships to attack a hostile for a limited period of time. They'll also provide you with direction, with quests, and meeting these demands will not only gain favor, but also more rewards. It's about trying to strike a balance between these different factions though. You're not likely to be able to befriend everybody, particularly as you grow, expand, and conquer. But as you do fight and expand, keep an eye out for how that's also affecting your diplomacy. Your standing with different factions will be influenced by who you're fighting. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I've given you a solid foundation for getting started in Republic of Pirates. And thanks again to the team behind it for sponsoring this video. You can, of course, check it out using my link down below. I'll see you next time.